Devashis Sri Guru Goranga Radha Sham Sundar Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Srila Guru Dev, Jai Srila Guru Maharaj, Jai Chaitanya Saraswat Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai, Jai Rupanuga Guru Bhagya Ki Jai, Jai Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bom. So, welcome everyone to our Sunday broadcast from the East London branch of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mott. Last week we completed our studies or our discussion of Upadeshamrita by Srila Rupa Goswami, one of the latest publications of our mission. A very big book, although Upadeshamrita itself is very small, but that included in there is the commentary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and illuminations on the verses by our Guru Maharaj, Om Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Rakak, Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. So the book became very voluminous, and there were other things contained within there which we've discussed, and of course at some point we'll return to that, because it's not right for us to say that our study of it never is complete. It's always an ongoing thing. Srila Govinda Maharaj used to say that I know Bhagavad Gita from my young age, but even now when I read, I'm getting new light all the time from there. So, and he also said our books are not for reading just once, but always, again and again, we should be reading the books, especially the books of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. That was Gurudev's desire, that we will study those books. In fact, he said, search for Sri Krishna, reality, the beautiful, Sri Guru and his grace, the golden volcano of divine love, the Lord's loving search for his lost servant, and subjective evolution of consciousness. He said, these 5 books, they are my 5 deities. So they're very important for all devotees in the line of Srila Sridhar Maharaj and the Chaitanya Saraswat Mott. All of those devotees, aspiring devotees, friends, supporters, well-wishers, it's imperative for us to study those books. They are the recordings of the spoken words of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and very highly illuminating in Krishna consciousness for all of us. And today, today I'm not going to be reading from any book today, but what I wanted to discuss today was what Srila Sridhar Maharaj said was the trade secret of Krishna consciousness. Trade secret of Krishna consciousness, and we find that this particular verse teaching, the very embodiment of that is our Guru Dev, Om Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. And that is, of course, the 3rd verse of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikastakam. Trinadapi sunichena tororiva suhishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya shadahari. So that verse means that we should practice humility, tolerance, and giving honor to others without expecting any honor for ourselves or any recognition for ourselves. And those that are able to do that, they are qualified to chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So we can say the inverse of that who is not humble, who is not tolerant, and who cannot give honor to others, and wanting all kinds of honor and recognition for themselves, the holy name of Krishna will not manifest in their heart. And Srila Maharaj said, this is the trade secret. Mahaprabhu has given this instruction. So it is not mundane in any way. It is fully transcendental and fully appropriate for everyone in every time, place and circumstance. Humility. So humility is required. And what kind of humility? It says humility like the grass. The grass is very lowly and easy for us to trample underfoot, you can say. It never resists. It doesn't push back. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in one of his commentaries on this verse, he says, our situation is worse than the grass because when Krishna comes to grace us, we push back. No, I don't want it. I don't want that. We refuse it. We push against it. We rail against it. But so this is the opposite of humility. It is arrogance. Arrogance means that when we stand to oppose that which is coming from the higher quarter, and what is coming from the higher quarter, that is all grace. So we should always be receptive to that. And it is not difficult for us to be humble if we understand what is our actual position. In this world, we were discussing this a few days ago, that if you look in the nighttime and look at the skies, you cannot count all of the stars in the sky. And to think that our little planet, Earth, is the only one where life is, of all of those billions and billions of stars in the sky, is absolute folly. But even if it is the only place where life exists as we know it, as we understand it, carbon-based life, even if that is the case, the earth itself is vast, and human beings only rank as a small minority of the living beings that we find on this earth. Millions of living beings, and also more or less uncountable. And human beings, although we like to trample everything and dominate everything, we are also quite a small number. But we are thinking, that in spite of that each one of us is thinking that we are very important. And that is all caused by our false ego. Our false ego tells us that we are important, that our opinion matters, that everything we have to say or to think or to do matters. And we find that in all the advertising slogans that try to get us to purchase things. They try to flatter us into. The most blatant one, of course, is L'Oreal's "because you're worth it." But it's actually just a ploy to get you to spend money on their product. They want you to buy their product, so they tell you, if you buy this product, you should buy this product because you're worth it. And it's all like that. All advertising is playing on our ego, flattering our ego. In fact, they don't blatantly sell you a product anymore. They sell you a lifestyle. So you see the two beautiful young man and woman running down the California highway, and they both got their Apple Watch on, and that the implication is if you too buy an Apple Watch, then you'll be one of those beautiful people running down the highway, and you'll be a member of this particular echelon of society. So this is how they sell you things, and not just products, but ideal. ideas. Your life is purchased by this kind of flattery or sloganeering, and it just bolsters the false ego. And the false ego is always telling us how important we are, how significant we are, and that everybody should listen to us. And in fact, we're not we're not advocating the destruction of the ego, but what we are advocating is the awakenment of the real ego. So replacing the false ego with the real ego, that is necessary. And what is our real ego? Well, Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev also has given this idea to us, given us the solution of this. Mahaprabhu tells, Naham vipro narapati napi vaisho na shudro naham vani na chagriha na vanastir jatirva kintu prajan nikila paramananda punam ritabde gopi bharta pada kamalayor das anudas. So he says, I'm not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya, I am not a Brahmin, I'm not a Shudra, I'm not a Grihasta, I'm not a Brahmachari, I'm not a Vanaprastha, I'm not a Sannyasi, I'm none of those things. And if I'm none of those things, then what am I? Simply I am the servant of the servant of the servant's servant of that ever-expanding ocean of nectar, the master of the gopis, Lord Sri Krishna. That is, Mahaprabhu saying, this is my ego, that I am the servant of the servant, the least important servant, but servant nonetheless of Lord Sri Krishna, the master of the gopis. That means Vrindavan Krishna. So this ego we wish to awaken within us. It is not a false ego. It is our real ego. Our real ego is that we are the eternal servant of Lord Krishna. The eternal servant of the Lord. Jivara Sharupahoy, Krishnara Nityadas, Krishnara Tatasta Shakti Veda Ved Prakash. Mahaprabhu explained this to Sanatana Goswami for us. That you are the life force within you, the indivisible soul that is within you, that is the jiva, and you are that jiva. And what is your nature as the jiva? Krishna Nityadas, the eternal servant of Krishna. Krishna Tatasta Shakti. You have come from Lord Krishna's marginal energy, or you are Lord Krishna's marginal energy. Marginal energy means that you can adapt yourself to this material world, or equally, you can adapt yourself to the spiritual world. Both options are there for you, according to your to the use of your God-given free will. And Veda Ved Prakash. Veda Ved Prakash means you are one with Krishna and different from Krishna. One with Krishna in the sense that you are of the same quality of Krishna. He is completely spiritual. You are also fully spiritual in the ultimate analysis. And different from him, that he is the omniscient, omnipresent, supreme personality of Godhead eternally, and eternally you are his separated part and parcel, and you are his servant. He is eternally the master, you are eternally servant. Jai. So this is, in a nutshell, this is our identity, and we are to try to bring out our real ego, that is, discover our real ego, awaken our real ego as the servant of the servant's servant, excuse me, of Lord Sri Krishna. This is what is required of us all. And it is not some kind of artificial imposition upon us. It is actually who we are. At the moment, we are suffering from the artificial imposition upon us, thinking that we are this body, we are this whatever it may be. We are this nationality, this body, this society, this political stance, whatever it may be. It is all a misconceived idea. I am a man, I am a woman, I am English, I am Indian, I am American, all of these things, they are all misconceived. They are, in as much as they are only temporary. And in Gita, Krishna explains to Arjuna that the wise have seen that that which has no permanence doesn't actually exist. And that which has no cessation, which is eternal, that never ends. That is the reality. That is the plane of life to which we wish to connect ourselves. In that plane of life, we will see where we actually are in relation to the Supreme Lord and his associates. We will find our, you can say, harmonious place where we fit within the great scheme or the great dance of his Leela, Krishna Leela. So that is only revealed to us in our purified state, and the purity of our conception will be determined by our ideal, which we will imbibe from our association. So if we associate with those who are awake to their inner nature as established servants of Lord Krishna, the Vaishnavas, then we will also be able to develop that inner ego, that inner awakenment of our true self. But for the first principle of being able to do that is humility. So humility means that I recognize that I am very tiny, a very small, limited jiva soul. I am small and I am fallen. Srila Govinda Maharaj would often say, two things we know for sure: that we are patita. Patita means fallen. We know that we are fallen, and the second thing is that we know that Krishna is merciful to the fallen. So therein lies our hope, that Krishna will be merciful to us. But when we have received the holy name from a genuine sadhu, if we wish to chant that holy name purely, first of all we must practice humility. And when I say practice, because humility doesn't always come naturally to us. Sometimes humility is contrary to our nature, because we're addicted to having our say, or making a point, or being right all the time. All of these things, they're all part of our ego. But often we will find that more important than being right is to be kind, and that is part of developing humility. When we see, there are many things like in nature which will remind us how small and insignificant we are. Go to the Grand Canyon in America and you'll see, it's so vast. You will think that in comparison we are so small. Or if you go to see something awe-inspiring, you will feel yourself to be humble in front of that. And the closer one has a real connection with divinity, the more naturally they will feel to be humble. The result of spiritual awakenment is never arrogance, but it is always humility. So we are to try and practice humility, even when that is, we can say, feels to be against our inner nature, because actually we are by nature humble. By constitution we are humble. And the second part of that shloka is tolerance. So we are to be tolerant. Srila Guru Maharaj says, even if I feel that someone has committed some crime against me, we shall not seek to establish ourselves or to have retribution for that. Rather, we will try to see that whatever has come to me is the result of my own activities. So Guru Maharaj says that, he was very fond of this verse in Bhagavatam, Taktenu kampam shushamikṣamanu. Basically, the meaning of this verse is that who tolerates the inevitable result of their own actions or their karma, and while worshipping me, will gain everything just by tolerating the things that are coming to you. And Srila Guru Maharaj says that we should understand that no one is to blame but our own self. For whatever situation we find ourselves in, you may be able to say externally, oh, it was something he did, or something she did, or something they did, or whatever it may be. But that is only the instrumental, immediate cause. Nothing can happen to you unless it is a result of something that you have done. So this is a secret, not a secret, but like an open secret, that those who are awakened, they can see that whatever is coming to them is by the grace of the Lord, by the will of the Lord. And they're accepting that as the result of their own activity. As we know, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So nothing can come to me that is not fair or judicious, even though externally it may appear to be different to that. We should know that whatever comes to me, it is meant to be by the will of the Lord, and that the Lord is so merciful that only minimally He is making me experience that. Otherwise, what kind of punishment may come to us for our abusive behavior in this material world? When I say abusive behavior, it means that in this world everybody lives by exploiting others. Everybody lives by exploiting other beings or other situations or other species. All of these things. In this world, you have to live, you have to exploit others. Jivo jivasya jivanam. That in this material world, one living entity is food for another living entity. We cannot avoid that. And even, you'll say, oh, well, I'll avoid all that, I'll become a vegan or whatever it may be. But that doesn't also absolve you of that, because even the carrot is a living thing. And you are taking that and consuming that for your own life. Then how will there be no reaction to that? Of course, we know that the life of a cow and the life of a carrot may not be on the same level. And the suffering that a cow undergoes when it is slaughtered to be made into food is not the same as when you pull a carrot out of the ground. But still, it is only a matter of degree. So the only way to be free from reactionary life is by dedicating everything to the service of Sri Krishna. So if you take your carrots and potatoes and make a nice preparation from that, and then offer it to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna to enjoy first, and take that, and everything you do in life, take that as the remnants of your Lord, then nothing bad will come to you, because that will be prasadam, and prasadam is the key, actually, to you can say, a karma-free life. But it is not that we make Krishna our karma-negating machine. Anything I want to eat, I'll mumble a few mantras over it and then eat it and think that it is prasadam. But rather, we shall only take what has been offered to Krishna with love and devotion. Then we will be free from any reaction to that. But tolerance also means, that in this material world, so many things can cause us suffering. Adhyatmic, adhibhotic, adhidaivik. That means that we get suffering from other living beings. We get suffering from the environmental circumstances, and we get suffering from our own mental world. All of these things cause suffering to us, but we are to tolerate those things. Krishna says in the Gita, Matra sparsha sukunteya shito sha sukadukada agama paino nityas tam titiksha shabarata. That happiness and distress, they're going to come to you just like the winter and the summer seasons come to us. They're inevitable. Nothing you can do. Someone may say, I'd like to that it's summer all the time and never winter. But that is not how it works. If there is summer, then naturally winter must follow. So in this material world, if there is happiness, everyone wants happiness, no one wants suffering. But in the midst of happiness, suffering must come to us. That is inevitable. So what Krishna says to Arjuna, they're like the winter and summer seasons. They come of their own accord. So you don't invite them. No one invites suffering into their life, but suffering will come without a doubt. And so what to do? Just to tolerate that. Krishna says, just tolerate that. That it is not our business, actually, just seeking always for happiness. And in this world, happiness means, immediate gratification or relief from the suffering situation. But that is not actual happiness. Just cessation of suffering is not actual happiness. Happiness has its positive aspect also, and that is the inner awakenment of the self. Those who are awakened to the self, they are always in a state of happiness, in spite of whatever may be going on in the environment around them. The example we see in the life of Prahlad Maharaj when he was a young boy and he was being tortured by his father. They tried to burn him. They tried to drown him. They tried to pierce him with weapons. They tried to poison him. They tried so many things, but none of those things affected him because of his surrender to the Lord. And in spite of all those things, he felt great happiness within himself. So, because he was Atmarama. Atmarama means satisfied within your own self. But more than Atmarama, he was a bhakta, a devotee of the Lord. Prahlad, the great devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev. And everything, the Lord appeared especially for the sake of his devotee. So, once when I was leaving India, I asked Srila Govinda Maharaj, do you have a message for the devotees in London before I leave? And Maharaj said, yes, you can tell them that whatever happens, they must tolerate that. And they must tolerate everything happily until it becomes completely intolerable. And then that also they must tolerate. So, and actually Srila Govinda Maharaj said, tolerance will give you everything. For our own sake, we can tolerate. We can try to tolerate as much as possible. And what kind of tolerance? Again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his commentary says, tolerant like a tree. So that means the tree doesn't object. Even if you cut off its branches, if you take all its fruit, even if you carve your name in it, even if you chop it down, even while you're chopping the tree down, it still provides shade to you, still provides its fruits and its flowers and so on. Doesn't withdraw those things, even when you're chopping it down to kill it. So that kind of tolerance, that has been given as the ideal of tolerance. So humility, tolerance, and to give honor to others. Giving honor to others is very difficult for those who are obsessed by their own ego, by their own importance, by their own self-importance. We see that the common idea is if we chop off everybody else's head, it makes us look taller. But actually, the devotees of Krishna, they like to see their brothers and sisters progressing in spiritual life. Because, Srila Guru Maharaj said, bhakti is peculiar in as much as you cannot detect it in your own self, but you can see it in others. And when we see it in others, it should actually give us great joy to see that our brothers and sisters are advancing in spiritual life, because that also proves its reality to us. We are not able to see, very accurately what our own state of progress may be in spiritual life. But if we can see that in others, then we will feel, yes, it is something real. It is not just something imaginary. So we will be happy when we see others progressing in spiritual life. But the material nature is that we like to see others fail. It is a very common and unfortunate trait in human nature. The tabloid newspapers love to do that, don't they? They build somebody up, some celebrity, they build them up, put them on a high pedestal, and then they try and find some dirt on that person and bring them down. And everybody loves that. They sell so many gossip magazines about this one and that one and what they're doing and what they're saying, and they love some controversy. Who was your hero yesterday? Bought low by the tabloid newspapers today. And people relish that. Otherwise, why are those magazines and so on so popular? Because it makes us feel a little bit better about ourselves. But that is a very unfortunate thing, especially in devotional life. Srila Sridhar Maharaj said we should not be drain inspectors. Because if you open up the manhole and put your head down inside the drain to see what is in there, you will only find filthy things. And the more you examine it, more that filth will come on you. So that is a very easy thing to do, to find dirt, to find filth. Guru Maharaj said, in one place there is a filthy sewer, and on the other side there are beautiful flowers growing. And why are you giving so much attention to the filthy sewer when you could enjoy the beauty of the flower garden? That is a part of human nature, a very unfortunate part of human nature, that we like to see the trouble of others. We like to see others fail rather than rejoicing in the success of others. The devotee will see the good in everyone. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he used to practice this amongst his disciples, that if he see that certain disciples were antagonistic to each other, and it is a normal thing, not everybody gets on with everybody, there's always a clash of personalities, but he would see, if he would observe in his disciples, one is very antagonistic to the other, then he would bring them together and he would say, please say something in praise of your brother. And he would not accept some superficial thing. He would insist you must dive deep into the bright side of that person and show what is the goodness in their heart. So this is very necessary for us, to give honor to others. Giving honor to others rather than feeling envy. Oh, why they're giving so much attention to this person and not giving the attention to me? Don't they know who I am, what I've done, all the things that I've done, who my father is, what my qualifications are, whatever it may be. That is all part of the misconceived idea of who we are. But rather we should genuinely give honor to others. And Srila Govinda Maharaj said, even if that person is not an honorable person, by honoring them, you make them honorable. So, then what harm in that? What harm in that to give honor to others? And the reverse is true, that if we find fault in others, Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, if you find fault in others, and you become, obsessive about that fault, finding the faults in others, then you can be sure that those faults will come to you. That those very faults that you see in others, they will come to you. And we find that the great devotees, they don't look for the faults in others. They only try to see the goodness in others. In this way, in the Bible, there's a passage which says, the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. So if we see that somebody, all they are doing all the time is giving faults or telling the faults of others, then we can see what sort of nature in their heart. But those who are awakened to their inner Krishna consciousness, they are always giving honor to others. They are always giving praise to others, and not flattery. Not flattery, because flattery is only another type of illusion. But real, genuinely, they are looking for the good in others. Srila Govinda Maharaj, he would say, a Vaishnava is one who feels joy when he sees the Vaishnavas. And the Vaishnavas feel joy when they see him or her. That person is a Vaishnava. So this is what we aspire to be. We aspire to feel joy when we are in the company of the Vaishnavas, and we hope that maybe they will feel joy in our company. That will be very nice. That is, you can say, Krishna conscious symbiotic relationship. In the Upadeshamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami speaks about the loving exchanges between devotees. That is, the giving and receiving of gifts in devotion, to feed Vaishnavas and to honor the prasadam prepared by the Vaishnavas, and to reveal one's innermost heart to the Vaishnavas, and to take counsel or spiritual advice from the Vaishnavas, revealing your inner feelings to them. These are the loving exchanges between Vaishnavas, and they help us in our devotional service. We should not, if we feel some displeasure to see the Vaishnava, then we should understand that feeling is a fault within ourselves, not a fault within them. The fault is within the eye of the beholder. As Lord Jesus said, brother, why are you looking at the speck in your brother's eye when you have a big plank in your own eye? So Guru Maharaj, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he would say, my religion is finding fault with myself. And that is more than enough for us in our whole life. That we cannot change our environment, or to a very small degree, and we cannot change others within the environment. In fact, what is the environment? Albert Einstein defined the environment as anything which is not you. That is the environment. So we are more or less powerless to make any significant change in the environment. But we do have the power to change our own selves, to change our own behavior, to modify our own behavior. I saw a cartoon that somebody had posted on the internet, on their social media page. There's a politician at the lectern with a big crowd of people around him, and he says, "Who wants change?" And they all, "Yeah, we want change, yeah." And then the next one he says, "Who wants to change?" Silence, no response. So that's it. Everybody wants change, but nobody wants to change. So there's a saying, perhaps it's attributed to the Buddha, or sometimes it's attributed to Mahatma Gandhi, but that saying is, you be the change that you want to see. What you want to see in the world, you be that. So that's a very good advice. What we want to see in the world, first of all, let us be that. And then that may affect others. Because we cannot change others, but we can change ourselves. And in the Baha'i faith, their slogan is, changing the world one heart at a time. And that is the only way to change the world, is by one heart at a time, and beginning with your own heart. You have to change your own heart from being a member of the plane of exploitation or the plane of renunciation. Both of these, exploitation and renunciation, are both considered to be pisachya. Pisachya means like witches or ghosts. And Bhakti Devi, devotion, will never live in the heart of one who is haunted by bhukti and mukti, by exploitation and renunciation. Both are false, and both are just different sides of the same coin. We are not meant. This world is not meant for our enjoyment, and we are also not recommended to reject this world, but rather we should utilize everything in the service of our Lord, in the service of Hari, Guru and Vaishnava. This is the middle path, the plane of dedication. Not exploitation, not renunciation, but dedication. So as much as we are able, we should try to dedicate everything in the service of our Lord. And our Lord means Hari, Guru and Vaishnava. When we can sincerely serve the Vaishnava, when we can sincerely serve Sri Gurudev, and when we can sincerely serve Lord Krishna, in fact, all of those are one and the same thing. And nearest to us is the Vaishnava and Gurudev. Then if Vaishnava are satisfied with us, if Gurudev is satisfied with us, then definitely Krishna is satisfied with us. But if they are displeased with us, then definitely Krishna will not accept anything from our hand. Because he is not alone, he is always with his devotees. And we cannot compel him to accept us. But his true devotees, they can compel him. It is very difficult for him to refuse the desire of his true devotees. So the secret is to somehow or another, invoke the favor of Krishna's devotee. Because Krishna himself says, I am controlled by my devotees. I can never leave them. And I can never ignore them. That he may ignore us, but he cannot ignore his devotee. Excuse me. And so if we can get the favor of the real devotee of Krishna, then Krishna will be merciful to us, for sure. So we are to practice humility, we are to practice tolerance, and we are also to practice giving honor to others. Because, and when I say practice, because none of these things flow naturally from us. They are, our present nature is averse to being humble, is averse to being tolerant, and is averse to giving honor to others. Because of our ego, false ego. Srila Gurudev would say, the only thing that separates us from the lotus feet of Lord Krishna is the Himalayan range of ego that we each carry within us. So that ego, that false ego, that separates us from our Lord. So we are to try and not just do away with that ego, but to replace that ego with the ego of the servant of Hari, Guru and Vaishnava. to genuinely be a servant. Guru Maharaj says, not to be a master of things that are lower than us, things that we can utilize for our enjoyment, people and objects and, things of a lower order, searching for those things to be master of, but rather the other way, seeking out the higher things that we can be a servant of them, a servant of them. And if they accept us as a humble servant, then very easily we will get everything that is required for us to lead a fulfilling life, a life of fulfillment. So, we heard that in the time of Saraswat Thakur, somebody had written an article in the newspaper where they said the Gaudiya Math stands for slavery. And Saraswat Thakur's response to that was, no, that slavery to Lord Krishna is actually the highest dignity of the human race. We kind of recoil from the word when we hear it, slavery. But, look at how many songs there are, I'm a slave to love. People want to be a slave to those things, isn't it? So Krishna is love. Krishna is beauty. Krishna is charm. Krishna is everything that we aspire to find in our life. He is the embodiment of all of that. Then to be the slave of such a person, that will not be a bad thing. When the master is all our friend and sympathetic towards us and always looking for our best attainment in life, then what is the harm to give him the position of the autocrat? Krishna is an autocrat, but he is all good. He is nothing vindictive in Krishna's nature at all, not even slightly, not even a whiff of that, of any kind of vindictive or sadistic nature within Lord Krishna. No, only beauty, harmony, love, affection, sympathy, all of these things that we think that if we have those things in our life, that our life will be very auspicious. But Krishna, he's the very embodiment of all of those things. So if we can get him, then automatically we get everything. Srila Guru Maharaj said, this is our proposal, and people will say we are crazy. But our proposal is, by getting one thing, we get everything. And by knowing one thing, we know everything. And what is that? That is Krishna. If you get Krishna, you have everything. And if you know Krishna, you know everything. And even, of course, it is not possible for us to fully know Krishna, because he is adhoksaja, he is beyond the plane of the intellect. But even if you know something, a little about Krishna, if you know that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and everything, material and spiritual, emanates from him, and is meant to satisfy him, then you know everything. It is not necessary to know everything else. When Ballabhacharya came to Mahaprabhu and he said, I've written some explanation about the holy name. Would you like to hear that? And Mahaprabhu said, no, I do not care to hear so many things. I only know that he is Shyamasundar and that he is Jashodanandan. And that is all I need to know. So, this is this simple devotion, that he is Shyamasundar, he is Jashodanandana, then that will give us everything. If we only we know that with faith, if we can know that, then we will have everything. Srila Prabhupada used to say that everything in this world comes to zero ultimately, because we know at the time of death, whatever you've amassed in this world, it's all finished. Not one thing you can take with you. So ultimately everything comes to zero. So millions of zero, if you have 1 billion zeros, it's still zero. a million zeros, a billion zeros, a trillion, whatever amount you can think of, it's still zero. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 times 0, 0. 0 divided by 0, 0. But the infinite is also like that. The infinite plus the infinite, infinite. The infinite minus the infinite, infinite. The infinite multiplied by the infinite, infinite. And the infinite divided by the infinite, infinite. So a part of the infinite is also infinite. So Srila Prabhupada, he used to use a very simple example. If you take a check to the bank and that check is filled with millions of zeros, they won't give you anything for that check. It is valueless. But if you just put a 1 in front of all those zeros, then it will become infinitely valuable. And that is what we aim to do. In front of all the zeros of this world, if we put it at the front, the 1, and that 1 is Lord Krishna. If we make him the 1, and then everything else in this material world, now that has value. Everything in its connection with Lord Krishna, that has value. And that is termed by the Goswamis of Vrindavan as Jukta Vairagya. Jukta Vairagya means to utilize everything in the service of Lord Krishna in its appropriate way. Because everything is related with Krishna, then ultimately everything has value in its relationship with Krishna. And without that, then it becomes worthless. It's just like if you have a mobile phone and you plug that into the socket in the wall, but if that socket isn't connected with any electrical current, you can leave it there all day and all night, and it won't charge even a little bit. But as soon as it's connected with the real current, then you'll see the bars going up on your mobile phone as it begins to charge, as it begins to get the energy. So similarly, when we connect with Lord Krishna, when we connect everything and anything with Lord Krishna, then it becomes charged. It becomes charged with devotion. And then it gets its real value. A mobile phone is completely useless if it has no charge. And so similarly, everything else in this material world, completely useless until and unless it's connected with Lord Krishna. And once, once it's connected with Lord Krishna, everything has infinite value. So this is Jukta Vairagya. Jukta Vairagya means to connect everything with Lord Krishna. Then whatever you have, whether it's a little or whether it's a lot, if it is connected with Krishna, then it becomes infinitely valuable. And even if you're the richest, most successful person in the world, if you have no connection with Lord Krishna, then your life is of no value at all. Although that may sound a little harsh, but actually it is the truth, because we are made for him. The whole world is only made for him, is only created for his satisfaction. So once we understand this point, that everything is made for the satisfaction of Krishna, and I am also created for the satisfaction of Krishna, then we shall try, step by step, but earnestly try to connect our life with Krishna and ourselves try to give satisfaction to Lord Krishna. And satisfaction to Lord Krishna means to satisfy Krishna's devotee. It's a type of symbiotic relationship. You see, the very thing that Krishna wants to do, Krishna wants to serve his devotees. But the devotees never accept service from Krishna. No. You are the master. I am the servant. So in this way, you can say Krishna is frustrated that he cannot serve his devotees. But when he sees that you or I, however fallen we may be, try to give service to his devotee, then that gives much pleasure to Krishna. And Krishna is very much inclined to give his grace, to give his blessing to those who try to serve his devotees. So that is a very wonderful thing, that what Krishna wants to do, if you can be instrumental in doing that, you will get the grace, you will get the blessings, you will get the full benefit of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness isn't actually about satisfying Krishna directly, because that's already taken care of. In Vrindavan, Krishna has so many devotees who are already giving full satisfaction to him. There is nothing lacking from in that department. He is fully satisfied, except Krishna wants to satisfy his devotees in turn. And they are not accepting that. They are not accepting anything from Krishna in return for their service. So Krishna gives us the opportunity to try to satisfy his devotees. And in that kind of symbiotic relationship, Krishna's devotees become satisfied when we too aspire to be the servant of Lord Krishna. And the servant of Lord Krishna necessarily means the servant of Krishna's devotee. So this is also only possible when we practice humility, tolerance, and giving honor to others. If we are not humble, then how will we receive the grace from the Lord? We are thinking that we are everything is coming to us by our own endeavor, that everything is happening by by our hard work, and by our assertion in this world we are getting whatever we want. They say, like, I struggled, tooth and nail to get to where I am today. Then this is all a manifestation of false ego. So that ideal can never be humility. And those who are not humble, they cannot tolerate anything also. Because everything is an affront to them. Whatever it may be, they are taking that as an affront. Those who do not flatter them, then they are automatically dishonored by them, and they cannot be tolerated by that person. So they cannot be humble, they cannot be tolerant, and you cannot give honor to others when you think that you are the worthy recipient of honor, that I should be honored, that people should recognize me for who I am. Another manifestation of illusion. So then the holy name will not ever manifest on the tongue of such a person, will never make the heart of such a person their residence. That is only possible in the heart of those who are humble, those who are tolerant, and those who give honor to others, and at the same time expect no recognition or honor for themselves. Mahaprabhu has given that ideal. What is the ideal of love? That whether you embrace me, or whether you treat me harshly, or whether you make me broken-hearted by being completely indifferent to me, by never appearing to me, still you are my worshipable Lord, birth after birth after birth. I don't require anything from you to validate that. It is just the fact. So this is the message that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give. The third verse of his Shikastakam. He only composed 8 verses, the Shikastakam. And all of the writings of the Goswamis of Vrindavan, they are, you can say, the commentary, the fulfillment, the expansion of those 8 verses. And they wrote volumes and volumes of books for our benefit, So we should try to take advantage. Why have they written these books? The Goswamis have not written these books so that they can become famous authors or anything or famous as pundits or famous as anything. They have written those books only for our benefit, only that we might be able to thereby understand what is Krishna consciousness. And if we get even a small appreciation of that, then we are well on the road to awakening our inner spiritual nature. And that is what is necessary. So we should try earnestly to be humble. We should try earnestly to be tolerant. And earnestly we should try to give honor to others. And at the same time not expect any honor or recognition for our own self. Then we will be safe in our attempt to practice Krishna consciousness. And without those qualities, we will not be successful. So, once I asked Srila Govinda Maharaj, we saw in him, in his nature, that he was the very embodiment of that verse of Mahaprabhu, Trinadapi Sunichena. Once here in London, there was some big disturbance from one of the leaders here, and Gurudev, when that devotee left his position, then Gurudev was giving a talk here in this very room, and he's telling so much praise and honor for that person, and afterwards I went up to his room, and I was there with Bhakti Lalita, myself, and Gurudev. And Gurudev asked me, "What did you think of my talk?" And I said, "Maharaj, if I can be honest, I thought it was too much, a bit too much, I mean, we know that this person has caused so much disturbance, then I think you should have been given chastisement and punishment to him, And Gurudev said, "Oh, whatever I said was true, I can prove it," he said. And I said, "Okay, Maharaj." And then he turned to Bhakti Lalita and he said, "And what do you think?" And she said, "Maybe a bit too much, Maharaj." Even she said, "Maybe a bit too much." Then Gurudev said, "What can I do? This is all I know from Guru Maharaj. To give honor to others. And it is not, flattery, but it is genuine." Okay. Then a few days later, we saw some miraculous things happen. Everything turned around and everything was harmonious and beautiful and resolved. And I said to Gurudev, "Oh, Maharaj, you were completely right and I was completely wrong. Please, forgive my foolishness." And I could not see. And Gurudev smiled and he said, "Prabhu, I have learnt in my life that nothing else works. Except this, Trinadapi Sunichena, nothing else in life works. Only this. And I have learnt that, by my hard experience in this material world. And by the practice of humility, tolerance, giving honor to others, and not expecting honor for yourself, that is the only thing that works in this world." So we can try to learn from that. We can try to learn in a practical way that these things, it is not just a poetic expression. It is the foremost imperative sadhana for all of us to practice this. As Srila Gurudev would say, "My religion is finding fault with myself." So that we don't need to look for the faults in others. And no doubt there are many, because this is the faulty plane. We live in the faulty plane. But what profit will come from us to find out the faults in others, the dirt in others? Maybe there's some kind of rasa that we can enjoy in that. But ultimately it is destructive and counterproductive. So rather we should look and try to see what are our own faults and try to correct those. And that should be enough for any one of us, not just for this lifetime, but for many lifetimes to come. And if in the midst of that, we can still practice Krishna consciousness day in and day out, as much as possible by us, then definitely we will get the mercy of Hari, Guru and Vaishnava. And our life will be successful. So we should not think that that this is, some mundane advice. It is actually fully transcendental, because it came from the lotus mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Otherwise, why would he say? It is very important for all of us. So we'll end our talk today. Thank you all very much for joining in. I see so many devotees giving some comment or dandavat or something like that. Please excuse me, my eyesight is very bad, the screen is very small, I can't even read it. So if you asked me something specifically and I didn't respond, please excuse me for that because I can't see it. But I hope maybe you got some inspiration from hearing these things. As much as I'm preaching to you, I'm also preaching to myself. So thank you for joining us, and we'll meet again next Sunday, hopefully, if everyone is well. Until then, remember the lotus feet of Hari Guru and Vaishnava. Try to practice the teachings of our Guru Dev, our Guru Maharaj, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and chant Hare Krishna and be happy. What else is there to do in this material world? So, until next time, Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bhargya Ki Jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswata Acharya Brinda Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Samadvaita Vaishnava Mandali Ki Jai. Kol Kartel Ki Jai. Sri Harinama Sankirtan Ki Jai. Anitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Mo. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.